Professor Rex 60 Plus. Season 02, Episode 04, Unexplained Weight Loss After 60. Professor Rex Investiga Number 04. Did you lose weight without trying? No diet, no gym, without changing almost anything in your routine. And yet your pants got looser, your belt needed a new hole, and people started saying, "Wow, you've lost so much weight?" This might seem like good news. It might even seem like a compliment. But after 60, it's not always like that. And there's a detail about this type of weight loss that most people only discover too late. Stay until the end, because soon I'll show you a sign that usually appears long before the scale reveals anything, and that almost no one knows how to recognize. Many people grow up hearing that losing weight is synonymous with health, that slimming down is always a source of pride, discipline, and victory. And at many points in life, this is true. But the body, after 6 decades of use, of experience, of history, begins to play by different rules. And weight loss that didn't come from choice, that didn't come from effort, that simply happened on its own, deserves a different perspective. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying this because I want you to understand your own body more deeply and to know exactly when it's worth talking to a doctor about what's happening. And before we delve deeper into this subject, I want to ask a simple question, one of those that seem obvious, but that almost no one stops to answer honestly. Do you really know when was the last time someone measured not your weight, but your strength? Because they are completely different things, and over the next few minutes you will understand exactly why. Let's start by understanding something simple. Weight naturally changes with age, even without any underlying health problems. Metabolism, that invisible engine that burns energy all day long, gradually slows down. Muscle mass, which was once easily built, begins to decrease even in those who remain active. Appetite changes. Many people feel less hungry than they did in their 40s or 50s. Taste and smell also transform, and it's not uncommon for food to seem less flavorful than before, causing people to eat less without even realizing it. And the body, in general, expends less energy at rest. All of this is a natural part of aging. So, before any concern arises, it's important to know, not all weight loss is cause for alarm. But here's the first mistake that almost every elderly person makes, and which I see repeated silently in so many American families. The person loses weight, everyone praises them, the children are happy, the friends at Sunday breakfast comment on how more fit they look, and nobody stops to ask, did this weight loss come from fat or from muscle? Because there is a huge difference between the two, and that's exactly where the danger lies that few people see. There is also a third possibility, less talked about but equally important, fluid loss. Sometimes a rapid drop on the scale in a few days represents neither fat nor muscle, but simply water associated with dehydration, certain diuretic medications, or temporary health changes. This type of loss usually resolves quickly when the cause is treated, and that is precisely why looking only at the number on the scale, without understanding where it comes from, can lead to wrong conclusions, both in terms of excessive worry and premature relief. Losing fat within healthy limits can even bring benefits. But losing muscle is a completely different story. And that's what I want to talk to you about now. Calmly, like two friends sitting on a porch after Thanksgiving dinner, watching the grandchildren run around the yard while the rest of the family is still at the table finishing the pumpkin pie. Age-related muscle loss even has a technical name, sarcopenia. It may sound like a complicated word, but what it represents is simple to understand. It's the progressive loss of strength and muscle tissue that happens to some degree in practically everyone who ages, but which can accelerate considerably when there is unintentional weight loss. And the problem isn't just aesthetic. It's not about how clothes fit. It's about the ability to get up from a chair without using your hands for support. It's about climbing the stairs at home without feeling like your legs will give out halfway up. It's about carrying grocery bags alone without needing to ask for help. It's about the balance needed to avoid falling on a cold winter sidewalk. Because that's what sarcopenia steals, little by little, almost without warning: independence. And falls in people over 60 are no small matter. A fall can mean a hip fracture, hospitalization, months of recovery, and sometimes a complete change in daily life. That's why, when someone loses weight without explanation, the right question isn't how many kilos, but rather where did those kilos come from? And here's something few doctors have time to explain in a quick 15-minute consultation, but that I want you to remember carefully. Muscle isn't just what allows you to lift weights at the gym. Muscle is the organ that regulates a large part of your blood sugar. It's muscle that protects your joints from wear and tear. It's muscle that ensures that, if you trip on a cold sidewalk in January, your body has enough reflexes to regain your balance before falling, instead of falling straight to the ground. Losing muscle, therefore, isn't just losing strength. It's losing protection. It's losing an invisible safety net that most people only realize when it's no longer there. There's even a simple method used by many healthcare professionals to get a first idea of this at home without any special equipment. It's called the chair test. The person sits in an armless chair, crosses their arms over their chest, and tries to stand up and sit down 5 times in a row as quickly as possible without using their hands. It's not a diagnosis, far from it, but it's an honest snapshot of leg strength at that moment in life. And many people, when trying it for the first time, are surprised by the result. Now, I need to be honest with you about something. There are many possible reasons for unintentional weight loss, and the vast majority of them are not cause for panic. But knowing these possibilities helps you, or someone you love, know when it's worth seeking a professional evaluation. Sometimes appetite simply decreases persistently for no apparent reason, and the person ends up eating far less than they need without consciously realizing it. Other times, there are dental problems, a toothache, dentures that no longer fit properly, and chewing becomes uncomfortable, so the person avoids certain foods, especially meats and firmer vegetables, and ends up eating less overall. There are also digestive changes that can interfere with how the body absorbs nutrients from food. Some medications, those little pills that are lined up on the bathroom sink every morning, can have side effects such as reduced appetite or changes in taste. Stress, depression, and social isolation also have a huge impact here, and this impact is often underestimated. A person who has lost their spouse, who no longer receives as many visitors, who misses Thursday night church or meetings at the bridge club, may simply lose interest in cooking and eating. There are also issues related to the thyroid, which can become overactive and undesirably accelerate metabolism. Uncontrolled diabetes can also lead to weight loss, along with excessive thirst and other symptoms. Some infections, even mild ones, can consume the body's energy over weeks. And, in some cases, it's true that unintentional weight loss can be associated with more serious illnesses that require proper medical investigation. It's also worth talking about something that's rarely mentioned in this type of conversation. Social isolation has a real physiological impact. It's not just an abstract emotional issue. People who eat alone, meal after meal, tend to eat less, prepare simpler, often less nutritious meals, and gradually lose interest in their own food. That's why, in so many cultures, and especially in American culture, gatherings like Sunday family dinner, Saturday breakfast with grandchildren, or even the simple habit of going to the same diner every Thursday to chat with old friends aren't just leisure moments. They function as real protection against unintentional weight loss. And there is another important point directly related to the medications that so many people over 60 take daily. Some medications for high blood pressure, heart conditions, diabetes, or even some antidepressants can, in certain people, reduce appetite or alter taste, making certain foods seem metallic, bland, or simply uninteresting. This doesn't mean stopping medication on your own, which can be dangerous, but rather talking openly with your doctor about this effect, because often adjustments are possible. I want to make it very clear, nothing I've said here serves as a diagnosis. I am not a doctor, and this video does not replace a consultation with a healthcare professional. What I want is to give you the tools to recognize signs and the courage not to ignore them. And here's that sign I promised at the beginning, the one that usually appears long before the scale tells the real story. Pay attention to how you or the person you love gets up from a low chair or the sofa or the toilet. If before it was done in one movement, and now it requires pushing with your hands, using your arms, maybe even a small groan of effort, that's a sign of muscle weakness that often appears before any number changes drastically on the bathroom scale. It's a silent sign, but it's one of the most reliable there is. Other warning signs include feeling more tired than usual during simple daily tasks, such as walking to the mailbox or carrying groceries. Noticing that clothes that fit perfectly a few months ago are now loose at the waist, without any dieting. A visible decrease in hand strength, such as difficulty opening a glass jar or turning a heavy doorknob. And also mood swings, persistent discouragement, or loss of interest in activities that previously brought pleasure, such as the weekly card game or the morning walk in the neighborhood park. And before I tell you what to do from now on, let me talk about a practical detail that many people in the United States still don't take advantage of as they should, the so-called Medicare annual wellness visit, that annual wellness checkup that most plans fully cover. Many people think this appointment is only for measuring blood pressure and checking medications, but it's exactly the right time to raise these issues about weight, strength, and appetite, even if they seem too small to bother the doctor. They're not. That's precisely why this appointment exists. None of these signs, in isolation, means that something serious is happening. But when several of them appear together, and especially when weight loss has no clear explanation, that's the time to schedule that annual medical appointment or to bring forward a conversation with your family doctor instead of waiting a few more months to see if it gets better on its own. And here I want to pause to speak directly to those who, perhaps, are not watching this video thinking about themselves, but thinking about a father, a mother, a beloved uncle who lives alone a few hours away. Because often it is precisely the family, and not the person themselves, who first notices these signs, especially when face-to-face meetings are less frequent. If you call every week but only visit on holidays, pay attention to details that seem small on the phone but gain weight when added together. Does he or she comment that they haven't been very hungry lately? Do they cancel appointments they previously insisted on keeping, such as Sunday church or coffee with the neighbors? Do they mention that it's not worth cooking just for one person? None of these phrases in isolation is cause for alarm, but together, repeated over weeks, they form a pattern that deserves attention, and which is often only visible to those on the outside looking in with affection, because those who experience it every day rarely notice their own gradual change. When the in-person visit finally happens, it's worth observing simple things. How the clothes fit, how the person moves around the house, whether they still go up and down stairs with the same ease as before, whether the refrigerator is actually stocked with real food or just leftovers and quick snacks. These observations, made with care and without judgment, can be the first step towards an important conversation about scheduling that doctor's appointment. Now, let me tell you something important. Even if sarcopenia has already begun, it's not a final sentence. The human body, even after 70 or 80 years of age, continues to respond to the right stimuli. And there are specific habits that help preserve and even recover muscle mass and strength. Proper nutrition is the first pillar. As we age, our bodies need more protein per kilogram of body weight than they did in our youth, not less, as many people imagine. Eggs for breakfast, just like so many Americans already do on Sundays with bacon and toast, are an excellent source. Fish, such as grilled salmon, offer quality protein and heart-healthy fats. Dairy products like Greek yogurt and cottage cheese are easy to chew and rich in protein. Beans, lentils, and chickpeas are great options for those who prefer plant-based sources. You don't need to reinvent your kitchen or follow complicated recipes. Often, simply looking at your shopping cart with fresh eyes is enough. Swapping a packet of biscuits for a pot of Greek yogurt, adding a handful of nuts to your afternoon snack, including an extra boiled egg in your Saturday breakfast. These are small changes, almost invisible in everyday life, but they add up over weeks and months. And hydration, often forgotten, is fundamental because the sensation of thirst also diminishes with age, and mild dehydration can be mistaken for tiredness or weakness, leading many people to think they are just tired, when in fact the body is simply asking for water. Vitamin D and calcium, when recommended by a healthcare professional, also play an important role in maintaining bone and muscle health, especially for those who spend less time outdoors during the colder winter months. The second pillar is movement, and here I want to dispel a dangerous myth. The idea that after a certain age, it's better to rest more and move less. It's exactly the opposite. Strength training, even simple exercises like repeatedly getting up from a chair, using small weights, or doing bodyweight exercises, is one of the most powerful tools against sarcopenia. It doesn't have to be heavy gym workouts. It can be a daily walk around the neighborhood, greeting neighbors, stopping to chat on the corner, feeling the morning sun on your face. The human body was made to move, and it responds to that at any age. The third pillar is adequate sleep, because it is during deep sleep that the body produces an important part of the hormones responsible for muscle recovery. Sleeping poorly night after night silently sabotages even the most dedicated effort in diet and exercise. The fourth pillar is regular medical checkups, that annual consultation that is so often postponed with the excuse of, "I'm feeling fine, I don't need to go now," but which can detect subtle changes before they become major problems. And the fifth pillar, perhaps the most underestimated of all, is social interaction. Eating with others, participating in family gatherings, going to church, keeping in touch with old friends, playing cards at the neighborhood club. All of this directly influences appetite, mood, and the desire to take care of oneself. Before we continue, there's some information that might surprise you, and I've saved it just for this moment. Most people believe that reversing some of the age-related muscle loss requires months and months of intense effort. But recent studies on healthy aging show something different. In many cases, signs of improved strength and stamina begin to appear in the first few weeks when adequate protein intake is combined with simple, consistent strength training exercises. It's not an instant solution, but it's much faster than most people imagine, and that alone is a reason for hope. I want to tell you a story. It's not about a specific person, but it represents something that happens very often in many families in many similar ways. A man, recently retired after decades of work, began to lose weight gradually. At first, no one found it strange. He seemed to be taking better care of himself, had more free time, and went for walks occasionally. His children, during their Sunday phone calls, commented on how he looked more fit for his age. He himself felt good about the compliments. But slowly, almost without realizing it, he began to notice that getting up from his living room chair required an extra push with his arms. That climbing the stairs to his bedroom left him breathless in a way that hadn't happened before. That carrying grocery bags, such a simple task, now required 2 trips instead of 1. He didn't think much of it at first. He thought it was just something that comes with age, and moved on. It was at a family gathering, at a birthday dinner for one of his grandchildren, that one of his daughters noticed that her father seemed weaker when he got up from the table, and insisted that he schedule a full checkup. During the consultation, the doctor assessed not only the weight, but also the body composition, muscle strength, eating habits, and lifestyle of that gentleman. They discovered that a significant portion of the weight loss came from muscle mass, not fat, and that small adjustments to the diet, in addition to the introduction of simple strength training exercises, could make a real difference. At first, he resisted a little. "At my age, why would I need to train for strength?" he asked, somewhat awkwardly, in the doctor's office. But he agreed to try, more to please his daughter than out of his own conviction. He started including eggs and Greek yogurt in his breakfast, grilled fish for dinner a few times a week, and began, with the help of a physiotherapist, to do simple strength exercises twice a week, nothing more than repeatedly getting up from a chair and using small hand weights. It didn't happen overnight. It took months with patience, discipline, and the support of his family at Sunday dinners, ensuring he ate well and didn't eat alone so often. There were weeks when he almost gave up, thinking the effort wasn't worth it. But his daughter, the same one who noticed the problem at that birthday dinner, called every week just to ask how the training had gone, and that, more than anything, kept him motivated. Months later, that same man was able to climb the stairs to his house without stopping halfway. He was able to carry his grocery bags in 1 trip again. At the following Thanksgiving dinner, he was able to get up from the table to play with his grandchildren in the yard, instead of sitting and watching from afar, as he had done the previous year without even realizing he was becoming complacent. And, most importantly, he regained the feeling of being in control of his own body, instead of feeling that it was slowly slipping out of his hands. He himself later commented on something that stuck with him. He said he hadn't realized how much he had become accustomed to living a little slower, a little smaller, until the day he felt strong again. And it was only at that moment that he realized how unintentionally he had settled for less than he deserved. This story repeats itself with slight variations in countless families. And what it teaches us is simple. Losing weight without explanation shouldn't be an automatic reason for praise, nor an automatic reason for panic. It should be a reason for attention, careful curiosity, and an honest conversation with someone who understands the subject. After age 60, the number on the scale tells only part of the story. What truly matters is maintaining strength, energy, independence, and quality of life, so you can remain present at every Thanksgiving, every grandchild's birthday, every Sunday at church, every leisurely stroll through the neighborhood park. It's not about fearing aging, nor about fighting it as if it were an enemy. It's about navigating it with open eyes, paying attention to the signals your body offers, day after day, to those willing to listen. An older body is still a body capable of strength, movement, and full presence in the lives of the people you love. It just sometimes needs a little more care than it did before, and there's nothing weak about that. On the contrary, Recognizing a signal and acting on it is perhaps one of the most silent and genuine forms of courage that exist after 60. If you or someone you love has noticed unexplained weight loss, it's worth talking to a healthcare professional to understand the real cause behind it. Not out of fear, but out of care. Because taking care of your health at this stage of life is one of the greatest investments you can make in your quality of life. If this episode helped you better understand your own body, please subscribe to the Professor Rex 60 Plus channel, turn on notifications so you don't miss future episodes, and share this video with friends and family who also need to hear this. See you in the next episode of Professor Rex Investigates.